Welcome to week 3 of the Kstj Tennis Journal. This is the vlog show, obviously. The first 2 weeks have gone reasonably well, getting nice feedback. The views are getting bigger, which is always nice, but I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it to help people like yourselves. So I would like a little bit more engagement. Whether it's good or bad, just tell me. If you think I'm speaking nonsense, tell me. But please offer some working models from either tennis or different areas. We're getting some ideas. I think Selena Coburn said that she sees it in martial arts. In the club that she works in, they have all the coaches are employed. So start to think outside the box about things like that, because employing someone may actually seem quite scary, but it's not actually that much to it. I employ myself through my company, and it's quite easy to do, and that could be a way of giving someone an opportunity, like an apprentice. You could employ them and give them a kind of basic minimum wage where you're not having to pay too much tax, and then they are free to make money on top of that as well. So just a couple of ideas. But this week what I want to do is try and tie in the coaching, the business of it, with the coach development. So if we think of a situation where we want to develop players, of course, we want to attract and retain players into our sport. And there are 3 different ways that we can coach to develop players. The first one is you might put on just a ton of competition. Yeah, and you might just create an environment where people are learning how to play the game by playing the game. So of course there's a definite way of developing players in that sense, because that's how I grew up playing. No coaching as such, organised play, but not actual nuts and bolts coaching. Of course I would have liked some help, but that was just the way it was in the 1980s at the time. The second one, which is probably was the first way of developing players, which is a model-based approach. So if you think back, even before videos, we had books, magazines, and we had little screenshots of what players are doing at different parts of the shot. And there's logic in that makes perfect sense. If you see a picture of the top players doing it, you see your player doing it, and you bridge the gap and you help them out in that way. So there's definitely a way of developing players using a model-based approach, and the technology now is so good that there's a lot you can do with cameras, annotation, slow motion, compare with the top players and so on. So there's definitely a way of developing players there. The third way, which is my preferred method, is the game-based approach. So the beauty of the game-based approach is twofold. Number one, you're always contextualizing everything you do. So it's very easy to motivate players when you use the game-based approach, because they understand the why of everything they're doing. And form does follow function, in my opinion. I'm one of these stubborn people that I always question things. So if somebody just tells me to do something, I would question it. So the model-based approach wouldn't work for me personally, but it's not to say that it doesn't work for other people. The other great reason or benefit of using the game-based approach is that you can use it for all ages and stages, and you can get instant improvement. So for example, if I have an adult beginner that has a chopper, doesn't have a chopper or a continental grip on their serve, and kind of does a frying pan action, I can instantly help them use that frying pan action to be better in the game, because most people play like for like. So it's not like I've got my frying pan grip and I'm playing against Federer on the other side. I'm playing somebody that's probably similar situation to me. So if I know how to use my grip to maybe get into the backhand of my opponent, and that means I get a weaker return and I can build from there, then great. Now that's just a very basic example, but I could use it right up at the top end of the game to contextualize something that I want my player to buy into. It might be a performance goal of winning more points on their first serve. So I understand that they need to do something on the serve, say swing it out wide on the juice court, and I need them to be able to build with their forehand on the second shot. So by using that context, I can actually get them to feel like they can get better within a situation, and that normally creates a little bit more buy-in, and therefore a bit more motivation to keep working hard through that challenge. So those are 3 different ways: play, model-based and game-based. Now we're talking about business or the industry, so we need to think about which one of those 3 things can offer us the most opportunity to attract and retain people in our clubs and our programs. So if we have events, can that attract big numbers? It can if you're uber good at organising big numbers and catering for those numbers in the spaces that you have. The model-based approach, if you decide that that is the best philosophy or method for you, then it has slight drawbacks in that if I want to control what I do, to therefore put them in a situation where they can work on their prescriptive models, then I'm limited to how many people I can entertain or cope with at any one time. If I have a game-based approach, then I can create literally easily 8 people on one court, and I can keep them working hard. I can coach them within the game, praise and encourage, give them little tips, help them as they go along, contextualize everything, keep them close together with their friends, create great energy, create something that is visually great for people walking past and seeing. So if I walk past a tennis court and I see 2 people playing, they are effectively at least 80 feet away from each other, separated by a net in a cage. Is that the most attractive thing to get people into our sport? Or if I walk past and I see 8 people on a court playing great fun games, laughing, joking, great energy, learning as they're going on, being close to their friends, and then of course we could socialise afterwards as well, is that more attractive? Now, of course, in my opinion, it is. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that you cannot coach using a model-based approach. You can do whatever you like. There are unbelievable coaches out there that are producing world-class players in a very prescriptive, detailed kind of way. What I'm talking about is attracting and retaining people to our sport. So in my opinion, the game-based approach will offer you the opportunity to get bigger numbers through the doors, create a better environment to develop our sport and your business. Put on events, because at the end of the day, we are coaches of a sport, and that sport is a game, and they need opportunities to practice the game. But of course, feel free to use any model you want, but I really would like it if you would offer some feedback on this. What model do you use to develop players? What models do you use to develop your business? What events do you put on that cater for big numbers? What fun sessions do you run that cater for big numbers, and so on? If you're watching this going, I don't know how to cater for big numbers, then go out and learn. Go and attach yourself to someone who does. So, let's park that for the side. Second great news finally is that I have recorded, edited and uploaded my podcast with Louis Kstj. It's sitting in the iTunes kind of cloud, if you like, waiting for their verification, so hopefully that will be with you within the next 2 or 3 days. It's in 2 parts because we did over 2 hours. First part is more Louis' story, his background, how he got to where he is today. Some interesting stuff in there about how he got into tennis, who helped him, and also we talk about in the second episode like player development, some more specific areas. So there's something in there for everyone, but it'll be split over 2 shows because there were just too much to cram into one. So hopefully that'll be with you very soon. And the third thing is, next week I'm actually not going to do this type of thing. I am going to review and test a Head Radical. Head sent me, as you can tell, I'm an ambassador for Head. Head have kindly sent me the new Head Radical for me to test and review, and I will be doing that on next week's show, and I bet the irony is that will be the one that gets tens of thousands of views because people like gadgets and toys and stuff. But I'm looking forward to testing that. It looks amazing, and hopefully it will play, I'm pretty sure it will play as well as it looks. So, get involved, leave feedback below, share, create healthy conversations with each other. I'll see you next week testing the new Head Radical, and look out for the Louis Kstj podcast on iTunes. Okay, take care, bye bye. I will be here. I have the patience. I'll wait around for the conversation.